Hello and welcome to Contortion Seed. I'm your host, Matt Milano, and I'm very excited to host this first episode of the show. In this series, we'll be seeing performances by contortionists from around the world. We'll have an opportunity to learn what it takes to become a contortionist and learn more about its origin and history. How many of us know much about contortion? Maybe you've seen contortionists perform in venues such as Cirque du Soleil and wondered how they learned to do what they do. Maybe you've never seen a contortionist perform and would like to learn more. Either way, this is the show for you. Today, our guest contortionist is both a performer and a coach. She was born in Mongolia and has traveled and performed all over the world. You'll learn in our interview that she's performed for some pretty impressive people, and she's going to perform her solo act specially for you on our show today. After her performance, we have a great opportunity to talk with her, learn more about contortion, and the insights she's gained from living, working, and performing for audiences all over the globe. From the flawless Contortion studio, please welcome Mandkai. I hope you enjoyed Mankai's performance as much as we did here. I'd like to welcome Mankai to the stage now and just ask you some questions about how you got into contortion and what you've done with your career. First, let me ask you, where have you performed?
Well, I have performed all around the world, and my very first international performance was in India. I performed in India for Dalai Lama's birthday concert, and after that I went to French for international festival. And right coming back from the French, I was offered to work in Germany for 2 years. So I was very happy, and I of course took the contract. And while I was working in Germany, I also had a very awesome opportunities to work in other different countries, such as in Italy and French and many other European countries. Also, I worked on cruise ships. So yeah, it was really a quite interesting experience to working on the cruise ships.
I bet it was. Well, so your first international performance is performing for the Dalai Lama. How old were you at the time?
I was 17 years old.
17 years old, performing for the Dalai Lama, and I understand you had a chance to meet him as well?
Yes, I did, yeah.
What was that like? What is he like?
Oh, wow. Meeting with him was very shocking, in a good way, of course, because there were many people were gathering outside of the temple. So obviously many people wanted to meet in Dalai Lama and get the blessing. So the Dalai Lama was walking to the temple through the side door. And when he was walking, and people were like on the floor, there's so many people on the floor, and they were on their knees, and then they were just rolling on their knees and like touching their heads on the floor. At the first, I didn't understand like what was going on. There were like so many people, and then I like realized that yeah, they are getting a blessing from him by going and touching her head on the floor that Dalai Lama stepped. And of course there were so many people. So not everybody had the opportunity to enter the temple. So that's why they were like rushing through to get some blessing from him. And I was really lucky that I was allowed to one of the person that was in the temple, and I like physically like he gave me blessing, and we shook hands and we took a picture, and I just realized that like I was very blessed. I thought myself, oh, I'm very very lucky.
Absolutely, yeah, not many people get to meet the Dalai Lama and get a personal blessing. As you've traveled around to all these countries and performed in these different venues, what have been some of the challenges that you've faced going from country to country?
Well, I had many challenges, but most basic challenge was communication, because first when I went up from country, I couldn't speak any languages. I used to speak only Mongolian. I couldn't speak English, no German, no Spanish, nothing, just Mongolian. So it was really hard for me to communicate with people. And also, of course, it was hard for people who wanted to communicate with me, because it used to take lots of time, because when they tell me sentence, I understand. It used to take me like a couple of minutes to process the sentence and understanding. And then after, when I understood the sentence, I have to reply back to the person. And I know the answer in Mongolian, like I know the answer, but it was hard to like translate to English. So sometimes I don't know any English words, so I have to search the words from my brain, and it of course takes time. And sometimes I can't find it from my brain, so I need to go to like see it from the dictionary. And then it takes time. And I wrote all the words on the paper and just shouted to the person, and he or she still won't understand. Because like I would just write a bunch of like just words without any like meaning, or it doesn't make any sense.
Didn't have the grammar to convey what you wanted.
Yeah.
Well, obviously your English has greatly improved. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So having been in so many different cultures, performed for so many different audiences in different cultures, from India through Europe, what are some of the takeaways that you had in being exposed to all those different cultures?
Well, I learned a lot. I love traveling. I recommend everyone to travel if you have opportunity. It opens your eyes, and like you will become more open-minded, and that's what affected me. I become more open and open-minded. And one most basic lesson that I got from traveling around the world is that when I was in Mongolia, I used to think that Mongolian people are so different from other people, other international people. I don't know why, but I just think like Mongolian people are this group of people, and the other people are like so different from us. But I just understood that everyone is the same. It doesn't matter where you're from, what's your age, or you're female or man, like your color of your skin or your language, like doesn't matter anything. Everybody's the same, and everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to have a good life, and nobody wants to suffer. And everybody really tries to live in better life. So that gave me really great sight. That then it helped me to become more open to people, and like now, like I start to not see other people as strangers. I just see them. Yeah, this is just a person like me who is trying to live happily, you know. And then I became more open, and I become like more loving other people, strangers. Before I used to love only my mom, my sister, my families, my friends. Now I love them, you know, because I understand them. They're just one of me, you know, like same.
Right. I've heard it phrased that that kind of travel leads you to become a citizen of the world, and you seem like you're a citizen of the world now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take a step back to Mongolia, because I think probably a lot of our viewers might not really be familiar with Mongolia or its history. What was it like for you growing up in Mongolia?
It was really, really interesting. I mean, I'm so blessed. I think I'm one of the most luckiest person in the world because I was born in Mongolia. I was raised in Mongolia. So Mongolia is so beautiful country. It has a beautiful land, beautiful people. Everything is so beautiful, and I'm so blessed that I'm actually from Mongolia. And the time when I grew up was actually very interesting time because Mongolia was under communist rule around like 68 or 69 years. It was under communist rule. Now we are democratic, but I was in the middle of the transition from communist to democratic, and my mom and of course my coach and my school teachers, they were all raised in communist country, in the communist rule. So the government was controlling everything, and then the coaches was like, you know, it's like the students don't have an opportunity or the right to talk back to coach, you know, they can't express their feeling. So my coach is like, do this, and of course I will do it. I will just take the words as a law. And now everything changed, and I'm happy that I was kind of feel that experience. You know, I was taught by the person who was under the communist rule, which actually I think was helped me to become a successful contortionist because it really pushed my limits.
That's wonderful. So you got to see that transition. Not many people get to see that from communism to democracy. Then what ultimately brought you to the Washington, D.C. area?
Oh, well, I was living in Miami. So here around in Washington, D.C. and in Virginia area, unfortunately, there are no professional contortionists. So I actually got the offer to perform in World Bank. So that was my first time I came in the D.C. So I performed in World Bank, and I loved the D.C. I just looked beautiful, and the first thought came to mind was, maybe I can move here, and that's how I moved here.
Okay, so you're helping to bring contortion to the area. Yeah. In addition to performing, do you work with others who are learning to become contortionists?
Oh well, yeah, I teach contortion.
And what type of students do you typically have?
I do have children, and also I do have adults.
Okay. Well, in terms of, I guess let's start with the children. You started very young. I guess I should ask you, what age did you start contortion?
I wasn't that actually young, because usually in contortion we start in Mongolia at the age of 5 or 6 or 7, but I started at the age of 10.
10.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that still seems pretty young, but maybe old to start a contortion career. So the children that you work with, are these kids that want to become professional performers like yourself, or is this just sort of a fun outlet for them?
For children, some of them are becoming a professional contortionist, and some of them just take class to both like children and adults. They do have different goals, and of course becoming a professional contortionist is very, very hard. So it's very hard, but it gives lots of benefit to people, to person who is practicing contortion. Even though the person is not going to become a professional contortionist, still it gets a lot of benefits. And for my adults, I do have lots of pole dancers.
Okay.
So they want to become more flexible because it helps for their pole dancing. And some people came to take class just to challenge themselves because it's challenging. And some of them just take class to become more flexible or to have fun. So every individual has, for adults, has different goals.
Okay, wonderful. Did you always want to be a coach, or did you start out just focusing on performance?
Well, I never wanted to become a coach. I used to tell myself I'm never going to become a coach. So never say never. Here
What
I
changed
am.
your mind?
Well, my coach. So I had 2 contortion coaches. My second coach was my loving coach. She taught me so much, and I love her so much. And I always used to appreciate her work, what she has done to me. But my coach just passed away like 1 year ago, like in March. And so that was really shocking, because we all know that, I don't know why, but people think like our loved one is going to live with us forever, even though we know that they're gonna, pass away sometime. But I think most people are not ready until they actually that person really passed away. So I knew that she wasn't going to live forever, but she died, and it affected me a lot, and I was very emotional. I was crying, and it was really hard. And then I just wanted to, after her passed out, so I had lots of things going on my mind, and she gave me so much, and she gave me everything. She wanted me to become a best contortionist, so she invested her heart and her hard work, everything, and I just wanted to give back. So that's how I decided. So I have to teach children, and I want to give back, how my coach gave me. So.
And what are some of those lessons that you hope your students will take away from your classes?
Well, okay, for children, like I mentioned before, becoming a professional contortionist is very hard, and not everybody might gonna become a great contortionist. But I want to take students one important lessons, which is I want them to be successful, and when they grow up, it can be any area. They should not be like all contortionists professional, but if they choose any other area, they have to be successful in that area, and that's I'm working on them. I am trying to teach something that high school doesn't teach, and which also that's mostly the things I learned from my coach, and also I learned it by traveling around the world. So I just want my students to be very successful in the area that they are working, and also I want them to help other people. That's my real goal. I want to help people, and we make them successful, and then they have to give back. And that time when they're successful, of course, maybe I won't be here. Maybe I will be passed away. Maybe I die. But even if they don't, I want them to give back to other children or other people, and I want them to influence
Yes, perfect.
other people. and hopefully gonna bring help to bring more healthy people in the world.
Wonderful. Well, we talked about being a citizen of the world. You're helping to be an ambassador for the next generation to become a citizen of the world. In terms of adults, I mean, you mentioned some of the benefits kind of for kids and helping them develop. For adults, what sort of benefits do you see for them?
For adults, for sure, it's going to make them flexible. And also the contortionist engages all the different parts of the body area. So it's really healthy. It helps people to sleep better. And it also decreases the stress because so many people are stressed in the world. And also it helps to digest the food. I mean, it sounds funny, but I heard that in the world, there are many people who are having problem digesting their food than people who are hungry, like don't have nothing. It's kind of sad, but it's our reality, so it really helps everything.
Okay. Are there any associated programs that you think work well with contortion? I mean, do people who study contortion also tend to study yoga or engage in any other type of training? I know that many people know about yoga, and people are like doing yogas, and eventually the people who are doing the yoga, that advanced people are doing the most basic trick of contortion. So I think it's like the yoga is kind of a transition from just being normal people, and it transition to becoming a little bit flexible, and then trying to get them to start practicing contortion. I see.
Yeah.
So people can evolve from yoga
to
into contortion.
Because the best, like most advanced yoga practitioner do like the basic contortion tricks. So.
I see. Okay, great. Well, you've obviously learned a lot from your travels and from your working with students. Are there any particular messages you'd like to share with our viewers?
Yeah, sure. So life is very wonderful, but it is very challenging. So I want you guys to be disciplined, and if you believe in yourself and discipline, you can achieve anything you want. And nothing comes easily, because everything comes with the hard work. So especially good things never come easily. So never give up on you, and be disciplined, work hard through whatever you want to achieve, and stay flexible.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Mankind, for sharing your thoughts and your insights from your travels and performances around the world.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. So for most contortionists, being offered a job with Cirque du Soleil is a dream come true. Our guest today, Mankai, received such an offer from Cirque du Soleil, and she turned them down. Join us in our next episode to find out why Mankai turned down a job with Cirque du Soleil and hear more about her career and life advice for young people that are just starting out. Thank you so much for watching Contortion Seed. We'd love to hear from you, so please write your comments, suggestions, questions, anything you have on our Facebook page at Flawless Contortion Studio. That's Flawless Contortion Studio on Facebook. And please let us know how our contortionist Mankai performed her act, and ask any questions you have. We'll be answering your questions in our next episode. Thank you, stay flexible, and we'll see you next time.